If you're here, it's because you've checked out my free download on how to fortify your future against the 5 most common types of IP theft. Today, we're going to go a bit deeper into each of the forms of theft to explain why it's such an issue. Let's start with AI bots and tools stealing your IP. Up until this year, it was a key part of any marketing strategy to put as much of your content in the public domain, so think your website or your blog, as possible. This is because search engines, mostly Google, would scan your content and increase your visibility on their platform. So the higher the quality and the newer the thought concepts within your content, the higher the likelihood you would get visibility on these search engines. The higher the visibility, the more traffic to your site and the better your reach. Today, that same strategy has now become a company's biggest risk, and that's due to the scale and speed of theft happening at the hands of AI tools like ChatGPT. AI tools have the ability to scan all historical content in the public domain, so anything on your website or in your blogs, and they can repurpose it as new, fresh content. Candidly, this practice has been around for a while, but AI tools are making it incredibly fast and easy to do. This practice has historically been called scraping, and it's pretty common. Basically, competitors will look for long-form blogs or high-quality website content that aligns with their keyword strategy. Marketers will combine those high-quality blogs and other content and repurpose it for their own keyword strategy. Historically, this was all done manually, and it was very labor-intensive, so it wasn't as rampant as it is today. Furthermore, human writers would be very careful to avoid infringing on copyright or trademarks, and this is because the penalties for this type of infringement are very strict. But with ChatGPT, these types of scrapes can happen in an instant, which means that your high quality content is subject to theft on a scale that is impossible to comprehend. Worse, legislation hasn't caught up to these innovations, so it's impossible to enforce any copyright or trademark infringement. With theft from a computer, who do you sue? You can't take AI to court. And even if you found a way to sue the person who used the AI tool to steal your thoughts and ideas, you'd have to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars enforcing your rights. And even then, you aren't guaranteed to prevail. And I think this is the scariest part, is that your competitors who potentially already have established reach and a larger portion of the market are the ones who are most likely to engage in this type of behavior. So they're taking your thoughts, they're taking your IP, they're using a tool to compete with you on a scale that's impossible to keep up with. The second type of theft is the theft of your customers' data. There is a common saying in the tech industry that if the product you are using is free, you are the product. If you are a thought leader or an influencer or a creator, and you're using either a free platform or a low-cost platform to serve your customers, the chances are high that your customers' data is being collected to further the growth or increase the revenue of the platform, not your business. These platforms don't share this data with you, the thought leader or the community builder, for a variety of reasons, and we'll continue to see this data be locked down as time goes on. This is because the goal of these platforms is to keep users for themselves within a controlled environment for their own purposes. Now we have another reason to consider. As privacy laws catch on across the country, big tech is further locking down data analytics being shared with creators and community leaders. And instead, this data is being kept purely for advertising or other revenue purposes for the platform only. Keep in mind, these platforms consider your customers their customers, and they will do what they can to keep as many users on their platforms as possible. The worst part about this type of theft, though, is that customers are starting to get more savvy about their data privacy. And we're starting to see these customers leave big social media platforms in droves. This alone is putting downward pressure on your reach, and you must have an alternative option you are considering in order to protect your growth. This brings me to the third type of theft, your reach. In addition to savvy customers leaving social media platforms, you as a thought leader and community builder are constantly facing 2 big risks to your reach. Constantly changing algorithms, plus the risk of being shadow banned or canceled. We all know major social media platforms regularly change their algorithms. This is because those platforms are motivated to keep customers on their platforms for as long as possible, to collect as much data from them as possible. But that's not only the constant change. Social media platforms come and go. 5 years ago, TikTok wasn't on the marketplace, and just recently that platform was banned in Montana. Legal debate aside, this is an important lesson to consider. New platforms can enter the marketplace just as quickly as they can leave, and you must be nimble enough to respond to these changes without wasting too much time. These days, there is the added risk that your best customers aren't on social media, or they aren't on platforms commonly known to steal their data. As we see more fragmentation of the social media landscape, you need to find a way to increase and diversify your reach. My biggest issue with what's going on right now is that most of our clients weren't even aware of the size of their marketplace. And when they made a few shifts to how they were operating in the marketplace, they saw their sales grow by several multiples. This is because they were able to find more of their customers who weren't active on their social media platform of choice and discover new subsets of customers they hadn't previously considered. While we're on the topic of social media and the challenges it brings, let's take a look at the fourth type of theft: your customer's attention. The old adage in marketing that it takes 10 impressions before a customer takes action is quickly becoming inaccurate. And this is due to the sheer volume and velocity of information coming at your customer on a daily basis. Today, several marketing analytics companies suggest that it can take up to 20 impressions for a customer to take action on what you're proposing, just because of the incomprehensible amount of marketing messaging coming at your customer every day. As consumers are becoming more aware of the value of their personal data and their attention, you must find a way to break through the noise of the digital town square and capture attention in order to grow. What you have to share, your content, is extremely valuable to the right customer, but finding the right person at the right time in a landscape of constantly changing algorithms starts to feel like a Herculean task. The fifth and perhaps most painful form of theft that I've seen is the theft of your revenue potential. I saw an alarming stat that for authors, they only receive $1 for every book sold, even though books sell for $20 on average. Worse, even though a book delivers ongoing value for the consumer, the author only gains revenue one time. Any author would agree that the portion of revenue they are giving up is for the cost of distribution. However, I would argue that comes at too steep a price, especially when you are giving up on the opportunity to earn ongoing revenue from your biggest fans, your readers. Expanding this to a wider group of content creators and community builders, what keeps me up at night is the lost potential that many of these types of businesses are leaving on the table. Leaving aside the one-time purchase versus the recurring purchase model, and even when you conquer the 4 other types of theft, relying on other platforms for your business puts your future earnings potential in grave jeopardy. Since you don't own what you've built your business on, not only are you leaving 10x your revenue and value on the table, you are building your business on shaky ground that can shift at any moment. It's incredibly stressful. The good news is that there is a way to manage these types of theft, and there is a way to grow a thriving business on purpose. In our next video, we'll dive into how and when to leverage tech platforms and how to pre-plan a pivot so you can continue your growth in the long run.